Hi everybody, it's Kelly Oblak bringing you a Scraplift Saturday video. This is our inspiration piece for the week, and you're going to see that I was really inspired by the colors, by the row of shoes, by the texture of the beads and the glass globes on the bottom, and even some of the shapes. Today, I'll be lifting this layout by Jen Chapin for Bella Boulevard. I'll try to remember to put the link for that in the comments. I'm going to be using all of these papers to scrap a photo of my rain boots. And to spare you the monotony of watching me cut those, I already cut the 4 papers. That green paper there is from Amy Tangerine, Better Together. It's the back and forth paper. And what I'm doing now is, in order for me to decide how far up I really wanted those papers to go, I needed to get my title on just to see if the spacing was going to work right. The background paper that I'm using here is from the Amy Tangerine Stitched collection. I have the last remnants of the paper pad, so I don't know what this is titled, but I kind of liked it because it was gray and it reminded me of the gray skies. That was the reason I was wearing these rain boots. So I'm going to put all of these blocks of paper and the photograph in a line, and that echoes the line of the shoes in the inspiration piece. And I'm using bright colors, just like the inspiration piece as well. There were a ton of bright colors in there, especially in the shoes and the beads, I guess glass beads, whatever those were. That pink paper there is from Amy Tangerine Rise and Shine. That's the Stella paper. The yellow paper is from American Crafts Shoreline. That's Pacific Beach. And lastly, that blue dot paper is from Amy Tangerine Finders Keepers. It's the Pursuit paper. So I'm just going to get all of these down. And then I'm going to start doing something crazy. And that is, just like the inspiration piece, I'm going to start putting buttons and other things down on those colored pieces of paper. This layout, when you see it in the end, is deceptively simple. But it actually took me basically 2 hours to do this. It took me about between 30 and 40 minutes to select the papers I was going to use and the embellishments that I was going to put in those blocks. I had to go through my stash. It took me a little bit over 20 minutes just to get the buttons and everything laid down on the colored squares, and that's not gluing them. It took me about 40 minutes for gluing to get the buttons all glued down, and then it took me about another 23 minutes to actually glue down the finishing touches, and you'll see that in the second half of the video. I'm going to speed the second half of the video up like 8 times because otherwise it'll be really monotonous for you to watch it. You'll be able to see me kind of choosing and selecting shapes and sizes in this portion of the video though. So what I've done here is I've grabbed these American Crafts thickers from Chamel. They're the Fitzgerald alphabet and the color is black. I really like this alphabet because it's so straight and it's really easy to get a longer title into a smaller space because of how skinny these letters are, I guess, but without being too skinny. Sometimes I think the letters can get a little bit too skinny. And so I am echoing the black there. My title's about in the position where it was. And I decided I wanted that title to take up just a little bit more space, so I'm using those brackets for no other reason than I just wanted the title to take up a little bit more space. What I did there is I showed you my flare and how I store it. I store it in basically a box of like a nuts and bolts box. There it is. Actually, I think I showed you the buttons. That's my flare. And what I did is I wanted to use these die cuts, and then I realized that the yellow die cut wasn't going to work any longer because it's too wide. So instead, I'm going to grab these Dear Lizzie resin flowers. and I'll put those on there to give that particular square some shape and dimension. The blue square there has that ampersand die cut, and that is from Simple Stories from Snap Life Documented, the bits and pieces. The pink star there is from Elle's Studio Everyday Moments, the bits and pieces there. And then the two flare badges that you see there are from Two Peas in a Bucket, which every time I use one of those, it makes me a little bit sad because I know that, you know, I'm getting to the end of them and eventually they're not going to be, I'm not going to have any more flare. I loved their flare. They had fantastic flare. As a matter of fact, I'm getting kind of low in my flare. When I went to look for colors, I didn't have much left because I was kind of thinking about putting, you know, a flare on each of the squares, and that just didn't work. So I kind of had to redo my plan. I guess I need to get to Etsy because I know they'll have some. Now, the cool part about this layout is that it made a huge dent in the colors, the 4 colors that I used. And I have done things like this before. I think I did a heart where I filled in with buttons and those kinds of things. I've done a wood veneer circle where I filled in. And as many as I used, it made a huge dent, but it certainly didn't deplete me to nothing. So that's a little crazy. And I can't tell you who any of these buttons came from. I've been scrapbooking for, about 15 years now, and some of these buttons probably go back to my original scrapbooking stash. So when I used to use buttons a lot more, I don't use them very much anymore. I guess I used them a lot more when I used to put them in as centers of flowers and those kinds of things. So any opportunity I get now where I can use a lot of buttons, I really like to take that opportunity. So when I was looking for a layout to lift, and I had looked at the mood board first and I saw Jen's layout, I was just like, oh, that would be fantastic. I could actually use up some of my buttons. The one thing too, as I'm doing this, I originally intended to keep each of the colors just within the colors, but when I glue them down, I actually do let some of the pieces overlap from color to color, and to break out of the top and the bottom a little bit, not much, just a little bit, but I did it on purpose. This layout is so stringent and, so straight lined that I thought it would be nice to echo it. So I'm going to break out of that line with that current leaf flare, and then I'll break out of it when I actually put the individual pieces on too. So I love those polka dot rain boots. I bought them because I was going to be outside at an event a couple of years ago, and I don't wear them as often as I really should, but especially because I love them. It's just I don't think about it, and I had to go out and feed the birds in my backyard, and it had just poured rain and was still raining a little bit, and I put my boots on. So that was kind of a cool thing. So here I am, I'm just kind of finishing up, and I really tried to stay within the color family, I guess, so that, I was making sure, like when I did the yellows, that the yellow wasn't orangey because that yellow is so bright. When I did the greens, I wanted it more towards a true green versus olive, those kinds of things. When I did the blues, I didn't use purple buttons. With the pinks, I really stayed pink and not rose when I was using these buttons here. And, I'm trying to fill in most of the spaces. What I'm going to do is I still will leave spaces, and then I'm going to come back and fill in with things like enamel dots and gems and pearls. And you'll see me go through that process. Now, the one thing you have to be careful of, I will be honest, when I glued these down, I I think the blue buttons and at one point, and so they scattered all over and I had to redo them. So when you do this, you might want to do one color at a time and glue them down, and then you won't have the issues that I had. Now for video purposes, I think it was probably the best thing to actually put them all down so you could see my process there and then glue them. And you know, the process is just kind of filling in the space. It's not anything that's too scientific or anything like that. But again, it's pretty cool because I'm using up just a boatload of my stash. And by the way, everybody, do you see how my blue shirt matches it? My layout as well. Anyway, this is the second half. I've now come through and I've glued everything down, and I'm actually very happy I had a hair highlight since I keep getting my head in the way, just because I need to really see what I'm doing as I'm gluing these in. I want to make sure there's lots of space there. So when I glued the buttons down, I use glue dots for everything. So I use large, medium, and micro glue dots. And now I'm just using enamel dots, pearls, and I'll use gems. And those have sticky backs to them, so I don't have to worry about it. Right now I know I'm working with, I'm not going to tell you what all these are, but I know like the green pearls there are from Michael's, their Recollections. That multicolored that's right below the kind of photo there with all the bright colors is from Basic Gray Saturday Morning. The other enamel dots that I'm working with right now are from My Mind's Eye from Collectible. I don't remember where those yellow gems are from. And then I have this sheet of yellow hearts, so I'm going to put some of those on there. I had a package I hadn't used any hearts from, so I thought it was time I got some on there. Or put them on something. Anyway, I bought them because I wanted more yellow embellishments. I grabbed Pop Drops from October Afternoon from their Christmas collection this past year. I also, you can see, I stuck these down before I turned the camera back on, but that little circle plastic thing is how I store my sequins. So I put green and blue sequins on here. So I'm getting really close to finishing this all up. Like I said, this is really a fun layout to do, but oh my gosh, was it ever time consuming. So I'm going to take my journaling pen in just a minute, and I will journal right below the photos. That's a little bit different than the inspiration piece is, but that helps. Those blue pearls there are from Doodlebug, I do know that. There will be a link to my Pinterest boards in the description below the video, so that way you can take a look at the inspiration piece as well. I have a board for layouts and square photo layouts, so those will all be in there. I'm going to take my .05 American Crafts pen and do the journaling, and that's just about the end of the layout. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye!